Hey there, we're the Huge Movie Fanatics to give you Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, which is my personal favorite of the Star Wars movies, a lot of people's personal favorites, although, like, favorites seem to jump back and forth between Episode 4 and Episode 5. Those tend to be the two favorites.
For people?
Yeah, just like in general, those two seem to be the ones that are conflicting as the best one. Then you get a large group of people who also like Jedi. But for me, I always grew up loving Jedi the best, but now having seen all of them in order and just like, this is the one I probably watched the least when I was a kid just because it didn't really have an ending or a beginning, it just sort of happened. It's a movie that exists. I'd always watch Episode 4 or Episode 6, like those are the two that I'd watch and I'd sort of skim over this one. Watching this one now, this movie is such a wonderful movie. It is so well made. And like well acted, well directed. This is probably the best directed of all the Star Wars movies.
Kirsch.
Yeah, Kirshner, man, you did awesome. God rest your soul. But you were just like so on the ball with this. This was so perfect. Han Solo is the greatest use of that character is in this movie, where he's just such an ass, and you just hate him, but you can't help but love him the entire time, even though he's such an ass. And he's just so antagonizing to poor Leia. You feel bad for her, but at the same time, you can see why she's falling for him, because he's one of those perfect douches. And so yeah, this is great. The introduction of Yoda, I guess.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. Yeah.
Yoda's introduction in this movie is great, and it kind of works when you show it to people who haven't seen it before, because you know he's Yoda, and having seen 1, 2, 3, and what he's just playing,
it does work both ways, because it does work if you know it's him, because it's like Luke doesn't know it's him.
Yeah, because you watch it, Susie was like, oh, he's testing him, she got it right away, and so it's kind of neat seeing that. And Vader's presence in this movie is so good. He's just great, and I really like Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill really steps up his acting in this one too.
Now, did he get in a car accident?
Yeah, he got in a car accident, which mangled his face, which is why he looks so different between.
Is that why they put that scene in?
Yeah, that's why. And they put the scars in the same spot where he has scars. It's so weird. You watch a lot of actors from the 70s, and you look at them now, and you can see how Harrison Ford looks like.
Oh,
now,
he
but
look like.
Yeah, Mark Hamill doesn't even resemble Mark Hamill present day. It's kind of sad. Too bad about that accent. But he's really good, and a lot of people sort of sell him short, or just take him for granted as a character existing. But the performance he puts into it is pretty strong. I really like him, especially during his training on what is it, Dagobah.
You want the impossible.
Yeah, and he's just as whiny as Anakin. All those people who are like, oh god, Anakin's just so whiny. He's whining all through Episode 4 and 5.
The funny thing is, I mean, it has a lot to do with having seen, and I understand this, having seen the original trilogy at a younger age, and seeing the prequel at an older age. I mean, I understand that. Yeah. And I realize that.
Yeah. He's ever just bitching constantly. He's so irritating, but I love Luke. And Leia is great. This is how to tell a love story, damn it. Leia and Han's progression and evolution of their romance, so much better than the Padme Anakin one. It's so much more realistic.
It's believable, yeah.
Completely believable.
Because I think, well, at least in my experience, I mean, that's how a little more realistic.
Oh,
where, especially if a guy's if you just you kind of bug your crush. I don't know what you did, but I bugged the shit out of my crushes. Hey, you little. So it is cool.
Yeah, and I really like that aspect of this movie. Special effects took a leap between 4 and 5. Wow, that is. They look really good, especially the asteroid chase. That is probably one of the best scenes in all of the series. That's just so good. The lightsaber fight at the end of the movie and the production design for that, the freezing chamber, is just awesome. So good with the blue and orange, and then you have the lightsabers that are blue and red, but mildly different colors, and they conflict, but they're sort of resembling each other, and it's so neat. That fight is one of the best fights in the movies. Without being like overly interesting, it's a battle of like personalities. He's just toying with Luke the whole time because he knows. And
is he one hand the whole time?
Yeah, I think Vader. Yeah, just goes one handed the entire time.
I can't remember.
And then Luke is sitting there.
Oh right, yeah.
Doing two hand. But the one thing I'm happy with the re-edits is putting in Palpatine, the original.
Yeah,
Palpatine.
that's very understandable.
I mean, yeah, I like that. It puts the connection so strong, and he in my mind is the only Emperor. Like that other guy who was there in the original cut is just there. Clive Revel is what his name is.
Yeah, that's what you said. Frankenstein.
Yeah. Still, I was going to look up who that actor was.
It's something Clive. Colin Clive.
Colin Clive. I knew I had Clive right. But anyway, back to Star Wars. Empire is my favorite of the Star Wars movies. I love it so much. It's the one that I watch repeatedly, and why don't you take it over? 4 stars, hands down.
Yeah, for me, I understand why people like it. For me, it's weird because it's just like the middle for me. The Yoda stuff, I mean, it's cool, it's dramatic, but to me, it's like, Luke goes off. There's something about the first one for me where they're all together, they fly to the Death Star, they're all together, they're not always together in the Death Star, but it's like this great buddy movie or something in a way. And there's something about Empire Strikes Back when they all get split up, and it's just like Luke goes off on his own, blah blah blah, and then and Leia and Han are trapped in the asteroid, blah blah blah. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I can't. I'm just gonna go 3.5 because it's weird. Like you said, it doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have an end, it doesn't have a middle. I mean, it does have a middle, but for me, I'm like, yada yada yada. Because it's like, it's one of those things where it's like you see it for the first time. The Yoda stuff, at least for me, is like, okay, that's cool. But knowing what it is, for rewatch value, I'm not too keen on the Yoda stuff. It's just because I'd rather just be I guess it's just not interesting to me, or as interesting. The strengths are huge. I mean, you didn't even mention the Hoth battle. I mean, what the hell's with that?
Awesome, just really awesome. And, doing a daylight battle, like in any movie, like at that time.
Yeah, and you got to give them props for freezing their asses off for real. Where they do that? Minnesota, like.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that was filmed. But
it was like one of the worst winters or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It was like 40 belows and stuff like that.
And you can see, I mean, just
the faces are just like bright, beating pink and stuff like that, and it's like, oh man, those poor actors. Like, we live in a climate like that some of the time, and like, I can't imagine being out there for 4 or 5 hours shooting the same take over and over again. Like that. It must be.
So, that's so much better than, say, now if he did it, he'd just do it in a green room or whatever. And that's what makes the original trilogy so much better in those aspects. Yeah, is that they actually went places to do it back in the old days when they used to do that stuff. So, the strengths of Empire are huge. We should also mention this is the very first Star Wars movie with the dun 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 dun, which is huge. The Empire, and the very first time we saw a Super Star Destroyer.
Yeah, that scene is such a cool reveal. Because you're seeing all the Star Destroyers, and you're like, man, those are big. And then a shadow passes over them, and you're like, what the hell is that? And then they pan up, and they look like microscopic.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Micro machines.
Yeah.
And we don't actually get the term, I think, until the third one, Super Star Destroyer. They don't call it anything. Concentrate all your power, all your fire on the Super Star Destroyer. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say. I mean, you've seen it, Go ahead.
I want to know what your take on this is, because I have my own personal take.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Okay, so Yoda and Obi-Wan, it's right after Luke takes off, and Obi-Wan says, that boy is our last hope, and then Yoda says, no, there is another. Who is the other that he's speaking of, do you think? Obi-Wan thinks it's obviously Obi-Wan says it's Leia, because he's like, the other he spoke of is your twin sister.
Yeah.
But I always took that to mean Vader, because I think Yoda knows that Vader's going to come back.
Oh,
he's
gosh,
he's
yeah.
the return of the
That's
Jedi.
interesting as a writer standpoint. Who did he mean?
Yeah, I think
Right.
because I think he was talking about Anakin.
I've never thought about Vader before. I always just assumed Leia. But now that you mentioned Vader, that's possible too.
And it's
If Yoda's so damn smart that he knows that there's a possibility of him turning back, is that what you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
It could go either way.
he knows. Obi-Wan's right from the beginning has always said that once you turn to the dark side, forever will it dominate your destiny. That's what Yoda says to him, but that he instills that belief in Obi-Wan. That's why Obi-Wan turns his back on Vader when he's burning to death.
Yeah, if you had to tell me to take a choice, I'd say that it was meant for Leia.
Okay.
Because the idea of, like you said, the Sith returning back, is a little far fetched. I mean, in that lore. So I would assume if I had to pick one, it'd be Leia. But it is. I never thought about it that it is possible to be.
Because he doesn't say no. There is another right until the red light hits his face.
Meaning,
Like, cause when the ship is going up, it's sort of the blue light, and Obi-Wan says that boy is our last hope.
Yeah.
Then the light goes out and it turns bright red because his
tail lights.
tail lights are going out. So and Vader has the red lightsaber. That's how I sort of
golly,
the
that's
visual.
looking a lot of people.
I mean, yeah,
I into this stuff.
I guess pretty much. I'd like to think that it's Vader, but it probably was.
Probably was meant for Leia.
Probably was meant for Leia.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I bet you now he's like, I meant actually Vader. Because Lucas is like that. But
yeah, I know he is. What a bum. All right.
Yeah. 4 stars, 3.5 stars.
Excuse me.
4 stars,
3.5.
3.5 stars.
I think it's great, but not completely great because of some of the other stuff. So, and the non-ending is kind of weird. But it's obviously that if you're. That's the thing about the 4th one, is that because at the time, it probably was just maybe going to be 1.
Yeah.
So it begins and wraps up well. 3.5 for Empire, and we'll catch you later on Jedi. Have a good one.